Once upon a time, in a town called Obuesai, there lived a stunning girl named Delah. She was the only child of one of the wealthiest men in Obuesai. Delah was breathtaking, with eyes that shone like stars and a smile that could brighten even the darkest night. Among her friends, she stood out with grace and elegance. She was so beautiful that even without her father's wealth, she would still be remarkable, even in rags. Delah's heart longed for more than just wealth and status. She craved a love that transcended all barriers and knew no limits. Delah had two best friends, Olona and Oforewe. Oforewe would often say, "It's because you were born into wealth that you can afford to say you're not interested in riches and status. If you had been born into a poor family like mine and experienced poverty, you would marry the first rich man who came your way, no matter what he looked like. For me, Oforewe, love doesn't matter. I need a man who can take me away from my father's house and change my life. I'm not asking for too much." They all burst into laughter. As the only child of Amuga, her father had grand dreams for her. He envisioned her marrying into a family as wealthy or even more influential than theirs, ensuring their lineage remained powerful for generations. Suitors from far and wide came knocking at their door, some richer and more influential than others. Amuga didn't even allow the average-looking men to have a chance. Amuga favored Akwisi, the son of his close friend. Akwisi also came from a rich and influential family in Obuesai. If you counted the 5 wealthiest men in Obuesai, Amuga and his friend Oko, Akwisi's father, would be among the top 3. Being friends and business partners, they naturally wanted their children to end up together to strengthen their bond. Amuga introduced Akwisi to his daughter Delah some months ago, hoping they would build a relationship. Akwisi was a very handsome and wonderful man, but he had a tendency to show off. Whenever Akwisi entered a place, everyone knew he was there due to his charming personality. Akwisi and Delah quickly became friends, but over time, Delah realized something was missing. There was no spark. She liked Akwisi like a brother she never had. Her mother used to tell her, "When you meet the one, you know it." But she didn't feel it with Akwisi yet. "What do you mean by, I don't think Akwisi is the one? Are you sure you don't have a fever? What nonsense are you talking about?" Amuga yelled at Delah. "Do you know how many women would give anything to marry into the Oko family, especially a fine man like Akwisi? And you're here talking nonsense. Don't annoy me, girl." "Ma'am, talk to your daughter," Amuga said and stormed out of the house. "Mommy, I don't love Akwisi. I can't feel anything. Remember you used to tell me that when I find the one, I will know." "I don't know it yet with Akwisi," Delah pleaded. Ma'am sighed heavily. "Yes, I told you so. But give it time. Sometimes it might not be the way we expect it. Akwisi is a wonderful man. Are you sure you don't feel anything? Even a little?" Ma'am asked. "No, Mom. I can't feel it yet," Delah replied. "Okay, don't worry. Just take it easy. I'll speak to your father. You know how he is." A few days later, Delah went with her mother to the neighboring town. It was a special market day where they sold a variety of products in bulk. Her mom, Ma'am, wanted to get some fabrics for an event she had. They arrived at Yuga Town and headed to the market. Mom's usual fabric seller was not around that day. Confused about what to do next, as she hadn't bought fabrics from anyone else in the market, she saw a smaller fabric shop nearby and decided to try it. Upon entering the shop, Nanayo was attending to a customer. As soon as he saw Delah and her mother, he was lost in a daze. "Mr. Man, can you hear me?" Ma'am said. "I want to get a black sequin fabric." "Hello. I'm so sorry, Ma. My apologies. What did you say you wanted?" Nanayo said, his eyes fixed on Delah. She smiled to herself. Nanayo attended to Ma'am and her daughter with special care, all the while stealing glances at Delah. She couldn't stop looking at him either. It was at that moment she felt a spark and flutters like never before. When they returned to Obuesai, Delah kept staring blankly into space and smiling. Nanayo, on the other hand, was struck by awe. He felt he had met a real-life angel and couldn't stop thinking about her. He knew without a doubt that he had found his wife. Over the next few weeks and months, Nanayo and Delah found ways to meet each other. Nanayo found his way to her town, and nothing could stop their bond. Delah kept seeing him secretly due to her fear of her father. Nanayo came from an average home in Yuga town, born to a fabric trader. After his father's death, Nanayo, his sister, and their mother continued the business with Nanayo managing it. You can imagine that Nanayo was not the ideal candidate for Amuga. Akwisi stormed into Amuga's home, screaming Delah's name. Amuga rushed out. "What is it, my in-law? Calm down, what is it?" "Papa, it's Delah. I've heard she has been seeing a boy from the neighboring village. I thought it was a joke until I saw them with my own eyes. I thought she would be home, that's why I rushed here." "Ii," Amuga exclaimed. "Are you sure about this? A boy from the neighboring town?" "Yes, Papa. I am," Akwisi responded. Just as they were talking, Delah walked into the compound with Oforiwe and Olona, all three laughing excitedly. Immediately they saw her father and Akwisi standing angrily, their smiles faded. "Madam, who is this boy I hear you have been gallivanting around town with?" Amuga asked. Delah stuttered, "Papa, he is not a boy. He is a man. And his name is Nanayo from Yuga town. Will you keep quiet? He is not a boy. So why are you sneaking around town with him? Do you realize that Akwisi here saw you and is very angry? What is your problem, girl?" Delah faced Akwisi. "Akwisi, I am very sorry. I really care about you and like you as I would like a brother if I had one. I don't feel anything special for you. You are a very good man, but I want love too. I want to look at the one I love and have my heart skip a beat. I don't feel that way for you. I am so sorry." Everyone stood in shock, their mouths open. "Shut up, my friend. What do you even mean?" Amuga screamed at her, attempting to hit her as she took cover behind Olona. Akwisi stormed out of the house in anger. Weeks later, the battle between Delah and her father continued. "Do you even know what we stand to lose if you don't marry Akwisi? How can you leave a rich, influential, handsome, caring man like Akwisi and want to end up with a nobody?" Amuga said. "Nanayo is not a nobody, Papa. He is trying to grow his business. He is kind, caring, and hardworking, and I love him," Delah said. They continued this back and forth for months. When Nanayo first came to ask for Delah's hand in marriage, Amuga was so outraged that he chased him out of the compound with a cutlass. Knowing his daughter was as stubborn as he was, Amuga finally agreed that Nanayo could marry her. When Nanayo came with his uncle to get the bride price list, he was in for a shock. The list was about 20 pages long, containing ridiculous items like 10 motorcycles for the village elders, 500,000 naira for the youths, 10 boxes of George and Hollandaise for the women, 200 tubers of yam, 10 big goats, 2 cows, 10 bags of rice, 5 bags of beans, 10 gallons of palm oil, 50 cartons of beer, 50 cartons of wine, and much more. Nanayo was shocked. "But Papa, is this list for one marriage or for all the women in Obuesai?" he asked sarcastically. "Why are there 5 bags of beans on this list? What do we need beans for?" Nanayo asked, anger in his voice. "These are the criteria to meet before you can marry my daughter. If you think you're capable, by all means, go ahead. If not, there's nothing I can do," Amuga said, leaving Nanayo holding the list in shock. When Nanayo got home and showed the list to his friend Obi, Obi shouted, "Abort mission." But Nanayo's mind was made up. He loved Delah and wanted to marry her no matter what. Determined to marry the love of his life, he began planning. Nanayo deeply loved Delah and was determined to marry her by any means necessary. He was not one to surrender easily, believing that his love for Delah could overcome any obstacle. Determined to prove his worth to her father, he set out to meet Amuga's demands, no matter how unreasonable they seemed. With relentless determination, Nanayo worked tirelessly, taking on odd jobs, borrowing money, selling his possessions, and even defying his family's wishes to gather enough funds to meet Amuga's requirements. One day, his sister Adana and their mother angrily stormed into his house. Nanayo had sold the only piece of family land without informing them. "Nanayo, are you out of your mind? Did that girl bewitch you? What were you thinking? How could you sell the only piece of land Papa left for you to build on?" Adana yelled. His mother was in tears, crying out, "What have they done to my son?" Adana continued shouting, "It's enough. It's like you've forgotten I'm your elder brother. Then act like one." Adana shouted back. "Lands don't disappear," Nanayo replied. "I'll buy more land to build just like Papa wanted." "But why are you willing to sacrifice everything to marry into a family that looks down on you?" his mother asked tearfully. "Because I love Delah," Nanayo said. "Is that love worth risking your life for?" Adana shouted. Nanayo nearly slapped her in frustration. The argument continued until they eventually left. Over the following weeks, Nanayo continued to hustle for money to fulfill everything on the list. Delah had no idea what the list entailed, as Nanayo didn't want to burden her. However, one day, she found the list under a pile of clothes during a visit and was shocked by its demands. "No wonder Nanayo has been so stressed," she thought to herself. Outraged, she rushed home and confronted her parents. "Mama, did you see the ridiculous list Papa gave to Nanayo? Are you trying to sell me off?" she cried. "That's the only condition for that boy to marry you. Either that or you return to Akwisi," Amuga replied, walking away. Delah burst into tears. "This is cruel, Papa. I'm not a commodity. The list is too much." "Mama, please talk to him," she pleaded, sobbing as her mother tried to console her. Despite the hardships and obstacles thrown their way, including her father's stubbornness, Delah stood by Nanayo, supporting him in every way she could. Finally, after much toil, sacrifice, and relentless effort, Nanayo managed to meet Amuga's outrageous demands. On their wedding day, Nanayo arrived with his people, bringing a truckload of everything required. Delah's kin meticulously checked each item on the list before proceeding. The only thing missing was the kola nut. Amuga refused to continue without the kola nut or its monetary equivalent. Nanayo's uncle quickly offered some naira notes for the kola nut, which wasn't expensive. Amuga shouted, "Who are you giving this small change to? Kola nut is 200,000 naira." He was trying to frustrate Nanayo, astonished that he had managed to meet the list demands. Nanayo, at his breaking point, stormed out in anger. His uncle followed him. "Nanayo, where are you going?" he asked. "Uncle, I am exhausted. I can't keep letting this man treat us like this. Haven't I tried enough?" Nanayo said in frustration. "Yes, you have tried and come this far. Don't give up now after all this effort." "I'll pay the money," his uncle reassured him, taking him back inside. His uncle paid, and they completed the marriage rites, moving on to the celebration. Months after the wedding, Nanayo and Delah built a life filled with love and happiness. However, a shadow of resentment lingered in Nanayo's heart towards Amuga and his family for the stress they caused. Nanayo, still harboring anger, forbade Delah from visiting her parents or allowing them to visit. His heart was hardened with bitterness, unable to forgive them for their rejection. Nanayo, please, how can you stop me from seeing my parents? They've been part of my life forever. You can't just cut me off from them, Delah cried. You are my family now, Nanayo said. I know, Nanayo, and I love you. But I need my parents too. You can't just cut me off from them. It's been 11 months. I will go home whether you like it or not, she screamed. If you leave this house, stay at your father's house, he said, storming out. Delah, heavily pregnant, sat on the bed crying. For months, this had been their ongoing battle. Nanayo, you can't just cut her off from her family, Obi said. They are no longer her family. They sold her to me with that outrageous bride price. I'm her only family now, Nanayo said angrily. I know you're angry and worked hard to meet that list, but remember your wife's condition. She needs to be happy and have her mother's support, especially now. She has been supportive of you. Don't let this cause problems in your marriage. Be kind to her, Obi advised. A few months later, Delah went into labor, and Nanayo rushed her to the hospital. While there, he called Obi and asked him to do something important. Delah gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and as she admired her child, the door to her hospital room opened, and her parents walked in. Delah screamed with joy, embracing her husband with love in her eyes. Her parents were overjoyed to see their daughter and grandchild after more than a year. Seeing the pure love and innocence in his daughter's eyes, Nanayo realized that holding on to anger and bitterness only poisoned his soul. With a newfound sense of forgiveness and compassion, he finally allowed Delah to reunite with her parents, bridging the gap that had once divided them. As they embraced with tears of joy and reconciliation, they knew that love truly conquers all, transcending barriers of wealth, status, and pride. In the end, it is love that binds us together despite all odds. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Has anyone ever experienced an outrageous bride price situation? I know it's common in Igbo culture in Nigeria, but has any other tribe experienced it? Let us know in the comments. I also have some questions. Do you think it was fair for Nanayo to restrict his wife from seeing her parents, despite what they did to him? And in this modern day, do you think Delah would have obeyed her husband or snuck out to see her parents? Thank you again for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories, and also, to help us grow.